What's going on, family of Cultured Unplugged? Thank you for joining this special live announcement that I had today on Wednesday. Just wanted to just plug you in and just say thank you for the new members that have joined. Thank you for my returning members for keeping it locked in with me on Cultured Unplugged, where we expose hazing in real time. We focus on telling the stories of those who have been injured, those who have lost their lives due to this deadly practice, and the survivors. Of course, the survivors. And so we're doing a lot of different things in the background to get the story amplified. So keep it locked in with me. You're gonna stick around. You're gonna see this video that I did on TikTok just earlier today, where we really address the live that we're gonna have tomorrow, which you'll want to be here. Basically, if you're watching it Thursday, tomorrow, April 3rd, we're going to be having a live talking to a parent who has unfortunately lost her daughter due to suicide, so because of hazing. So please, we're going to pray before that live. We're going to pray after that live, because we don't speak any form of suicide to anyone that's watching. If you're experiencing any form of suicide or thinking of having those thoughts, please dial 988 and let's get you taken care of. But we're going to keep this safe. We're going to keep this candid. We're going to keep this very personal between us and our fight against hazing. So watch the live. Let me know what you think in the comments. Moderators, I need you to make sure that those comments stay peaceful and respectful. So stick around, watch the video clip. Love to let you know your thoughts. We had also a guest on that live, so 100%, lots of great talking points to share. So as you already know, let's end hazing together, y'all. Let's love on each other. I love you. I know you double love me back. Let's get it unplugged. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. This is a Ask Me Anything live. We're going to be talking about a very important live that's happening tomorrow on YouTube, featuring a mother who lost her daughter due to suicide because of hazing. And so I'd like to get your thoughts on the conversation, to talk more about your feelings of questions I should ask. Maybe you want to ask me questions, where things stand right now in regards to the movement. Let me know your thoughts. We're taking those questions right now. Again, tomorrow we have a very important call that's going to be on YouTube at Cultured Unplugged. We're talking to a mother who lost her daughter due to suicide because of hazing. And so very important, very hard conversation to have, to be honest with you. I don't know how to navigate that. In my gut is telling me it's just going to be a very heavy conversation. So want to get your opinion, any questions that you have that I should ask her. I already have some things in my mind of how the interview is going to go, but we're going to be live on YouTube, talking to, again, a mother who lost her daughter to basically hazing. Her daughter already basically pledged to the process, went through, a very rough pledging process, got into the sorority. 2 years later, she commits suicide. Whole bunch of storyline in between those 2 years. We'll talk about that in depth tomorrow, but what would help me is to understand what questions you have in reference to the mom, reference to her daughter, who's going to be joining us live. Again, the mom is going to be joining us live tomorrow on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you're watching this right now, you'll want to be on this call, because this call is going to be very, very heavy. I'm also going to put out there the, believe it's 988 is the number to the suicide hotline. So if you know someone who's experiencing suicide, call that number. But since we're talking about suicide, I have to put that out there because it's a very heavy thing that some people go through, and mental health is huge. And that's a one thing that a lot of things that people don't see, that when it comes down to hazing, it's the scars that you don't see. It's not always the paddling. It's not always the alcohol. It's not always the beatings. It's not a necessarily a surface level injury. A lot of times it's a mental health issue. It's basically what we carry on the inside, the internal part of it, the pain. I've never shared with anyone this. I shared it in a video, but I discussed that I was suicidal as well during my experience. Attempted to join a organization, and so that felt to a point of a certain low that I can't even describe to you. It's just a feeling like you don't matter anymore. Everything that you have ever experienced, in terms of, at least for me, I can only speak for me. What everybody else feels is fine, but I felt like what I was going through was some sort of punishment for everything that I did wrong in my life at the time. Very heavy to kind of compile that. But when you feel isolated, which is half the time what it happens, that's the situation that we've got to basically talk about. So yeah, we've got to be able to have this conversation. Tomorrow, again, is the live. I definitely want you to join in, share your thoughts. Let me know what you think, as far as the questions you have. I'm curious. So let me know what your thoughts are there. Again, the live will be tomorrow, 8 p.m. We're talking again to a mom. This is a Ask Me Anything. Any questions regarding the subject, thoughts? I'd like to know. So again, tomorrow is the live. And I'm going to just be very candid with her. I'm just going to really ask her what's going on. Thank you so much. God bless you too. Love and light to everyone on this live. God bless you. I love y'all. Let me do a quick prayer. I didn't do a quick prayer, so my apologies. Heavenly Father, touch each and every one who is on this live right now in the name of Jesus. God, continue to strengthen them, continue to embolden them, continue to give them the strength that they need if they have experienced hazing, that they will tell their story and spread the word of love and light to others that need to really hear their message. I ask Heavenly Father that you will guide them, give them the strength so that they go to school, if they're going to school, college, where they're interested in organization or a marching band or a dance team, that they'll go through a process that's safe, that carries them through life, and then finally graduation. So we ask Heavenly Father to help me to be able to talk to your people, to our people, to be able to keep us safe, and that we've spread the awareness. In the name of Jesus, amen. Amen. So I didn't do that from the beginning. I usually like to start lives with a prayer. So thank you again for your wishes and blessings. But we've got a serious problem. And so what I'm asking, in addition for the Ask Me Anything, I'm asking you to start asking schools. If you know someone who's getting ready to go to college, whether it be this coming fall, whether it be a summer school, or if they're in high school and they're thinking about going into like college tours right now, or it's the last year, senior year, I want you to start talking to those people about making sure that either those people or their parents, and talk to them about the protocols or the demand for having protocols to protect them against any type of hazing. So that means asking schools to have some type of documentation about any particular hazing cases that has happened before. Talk about which organizations may have contributed to that. There is a new law that passed, which is the Stop Hazing Act, and so that is now requiring all universities, colleges, to be upfront with their process as far as making sure that there's documentation, there's data, there's mandatory teachings and seminars on this stuff every year. So every school has to produce this, and there's not a lot of schools that have basically compiled that yet or have gotten that out of the way. So that could be because there's a lot of moving parts with it. It's a new mandate. It just came out in December of last year under the Biden administration. And so what that means is essentially, again, all these schools have to have the correct data. They have to have, and they really should have had this stuff before. But at a federal level, there really isn't a crime per se in terms of this. This is like a state law issue. And so we're pushing eventually. Our hope is that hazing will be a federal crime. Why that's important is because this is a national issue. We've seen this time and time again. We've seen our young people become injured, become basically impotent where they can't have kids anymore, loss of life. I could go on and on and on, and including my case and story as well. So this isn't just an isolated issue. This is important. I'm asking for your help and assistance through this to be a part of the live tomorrow. Share your stories in the comments, be able to ask questions that I may not be able to cover. Be able to, be engaged and be a part of this movement as someone like myself who is dedicated to really hearing the stories of victims who have experienced hazing. This is a serious thing, and I'd like to really position this as we've got to do something together. We've got to be able to come up with a plan of action, and we've talked about this before on the live. There are basically levels of I would say demands that we have for schools to provide greater transparency. Young people are going to college tours right now. Some of them, I think whatever's left of spring break, I think there's another spring break for high school students coming up here in April. In April now, right? So April we just got into April. So those college tours are happening all month, even into next month in May. And so we're asking parents, especially parents, to ask the schools when you're doing the college tours and you're talking to the admissions department, that you're asking them, what protocols do you have in place to fight against hazing or to keep kids safe on campus from hazing? What resources do they have? Has there been any known cases or issues in the past where someone has reported a hazing? Like, we need to know that stuff. Parents need to know that stuff. Young people who are interested in getting their bachelor's degree in communications or engineering or whatever they're interested in, we have to make sure we demand full transparency in that process. Why it's important, again, we're trying to save lives here. If you're not here to be a part of that, please, you can jump off the live. I am okay with that because you're making room for people who really want to be here, as it means really a focus on protecting young people. I'm not anti-Greek. I'm just anti-hazing. I'm not anti-Divine Nine. I'm just anti-hazing. And so if you're anti-hazing, then you're in the right place because that matters to me. That matters that we see kids, young people go into the school of their choice and finish the real burning sands, which is that graduation, and be able to get a job or career that they love, okay? I'm twice educated. Since I had my experience, which could have killed me, I've got my bachelor's degree. I've got my master's degree. I've got a great job where I've been able to have wonderful experiences, travel the world, done it all, believe you me. But now it's like, this is my give back. This is my advocacy. This is something that I could get, really should be in a position for and a company for, but I'm doing this for free. I don't really care about the money. I don't really care about any of that stuff. My devotion is through God. God has called me to this action. He has basically summoned me to make sure that we get the message out to our community, especially because we seem to feel like we don't want to talk about it. We seem to feel like we are going to give up about it. That Caleb Wilson's case is just another stat in a book of other cases that involve not only our community as a people, as Black people, but also others who are not Black, who are essentially have gone through lots of loss as well, if not even more. They make up, by the way, 85%, white fraternities and sororities make up about 85% of all hazing cases. And that's according to a stat found with Hank Newer, who's behind the hazing.org. So that's a problem. We've got to be able to come to a place where we change the narrative. We change the culture around hazing. It's not something that's really identifiable because a lot of this stuff, even with that stat that I just gave you, is underground. A lot of the information that I just gave you, it's an underground issue. Something that basically has been the rug because some people feel like they don't want to share it, and they don't. A lot of them don't, because it comes with the backlash piece of it. It comes with the shame, the blackball. I've been too afraid to say anything because I'll be ostracized from campus. Everybody will look at me weird. Everybody will look at me funny. People won't allow me to come in back to homecoming. I won't feel like I can be a part of homecoming. And that's a real sad situation, that a community can make you feel a way because you have now been outed or seen as someone that didn't make a process that could have killed you. I don't understand that. I don't agree with that. I would never support that, to be honest with you. And that's really messed up. Hello. We got to protect young people. And so that's the reason for this live. We've got to ask the tough questions. Tomorrow, we're going to be live on YouTube talking to a parent whose daughter basically committed suicide 2 years later after joining the sorority that she wanted to join. And when I tell you, when speaking with her and hearing her story, I'm really shocked that her story hasn't been amplified nationally. Her story actually reminds me of Jordan Hankins, which was the young lady who was had admiration for the sorority Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. Very known, by the way, from what I'm hearing, that they've experienced lots of cases that a lot of them doesn't really make the news, that they experience hazing. And so Jordan Hankins took her own life from her experience in the trying to get through the process. A lot of underhanded abuse that happened to her that led her to commit suicide. And a lot of us got into the comments when I put that video out on TikTok. Some of you said to me that the suicide, which is really egregious to say, had no correlation to the hazing that she experienced. That hazing might not have been a factor at all. And I just don't understand that. Because if you really knew how hazing really is set up, it's set up to isolate you. It's set up to break you down, to build you up. But the part that you don't understand is that breakdown part of it is the part that necessarily you don't mean you're going to get back up. Because again, there's some type of activity that can happen to where while you're down there and you're broken down, you may not recover. You may not survive it. You may not be alive to continue that said process. So when you're going to set, you have it in your mind, you got to go through something. You got to be made. You got to go through this process that's going to pull you in, and it's going to literally change you, who you are. It's designed to do that. And many of those victims, unfortunately, like Jordan Hankins, just don't make it. Or when let's say they do make it, but they carry on a mental health block that's decreasing so much that it changes the landscape of their personality and cognitive decisions. That their decisions become erratic. It could become arrogant, if not personality disorder that comes from that. You guys don't understand how this is really a problem, and it's a ugly, sinister issue that lies behind the dorms, lies behind the culture, the facade, the strolls, the walks, the canes, all that stuff. It lies and hides behind that. And it's according to AJ Johnson, who's the actress behind movies like Baby Boy and House Party, she talks about it as this is a personal issue. It's not an organization issue, which I can probably say that's probably true to her opinion there. People might say something different, but when we look at it, okay, it's a personal issue. Then how do we change the culture of that personal issue? We've got people coming back, alumni, to put hands on young people. These people are alumni who've been graduated in like year 2000, 99, 93, okay? 50, 45-year-old people putting their hands on 17, 18-year-olds. I need to see the same energy as if a lot of you complain about grooming, and let me tell you this, I am not a supporter of any kind in that nature, but I got to call it out a double standard when I see it. If you can call out grooming and all that stuff and shaming people for dating people who are younger, you got to be able to see that there's a correlation to where young people should not be experiencing any type of abuse from men or women who are twice their age. or 3 times their age. If you are a parent that believes that, hey, my kid, can get hit by only me and anybody else who's an alumni of this organization because my kid belongs in this organization, that is a problem. I got a problem with you. Because what are you doing? You're telling and supporting young people having hands being put on them by adults who are not any kind of family related. Not to say abuse of any kind is accepted, but I'm just trying to get you to paint the picture with you like this is a issue we've got to address that no one wants to talk about. That the alumni are putting their hands on of these schools, white, black, doesn't matter, coming back to put alcohol consumption, strange products of poisonous consumption or substances that could lead to death. Young people need to be alive to be able to at least take care of their responsibilities, their class projects, essays, being able to have the little food that they can have in their dorm. Not worried about in between class, I got to go not be seen on campus so I don't get in trouble later on by my dean or my ADP. You see what I'm saying? We've got a problem we've got to address. Nothing changes if we do nothing. We do something by raising our voices, spreading the awareness, sharing videos like the ones I've been producing. I got called into this activism. I got called into action with this because I am a former victim. I am a survivor. I'm someone who lived to tell the tale. And if I could be candid with you, if I was so close to death, why shouldn't I use my voice to help save another? Why shouldn't we be talking out loud about it in the tough spaces? I talked about this on the last live last week, how where is the Black church in their position against anti-hazing? What are our faith leaders thinking about this? Are they too entrenched in those beliefs that, hey, to be a Christian, it's accepted that you can also do a little hazing? It's accepted that, a kid, who's, being sent off to college to be a part of this organization, there's no skating. We love God. But that kid, unfortunately, hey, it is what it is. I need to know what's the real story. I need to know, what are we doing to protect our young people? How are we giving them guidance while they're on these college campuses? What is your position on saving young people's lives? Do we just do nothing? Do we just carry on like it's just another day? I mean, talk to me. I don't see many, if not any, questions or address to this issue in this live. I don't see any. We've got to start asking those questions. We've got to be able to put the focus on and the spotlight on the area where it's just been dark. You may be someone who's experienced hazing. You may be watching this video and said to yourself, I don't know if I can. I go back to this homecoming. You see what I'm saying? This is a good one. The churches don't stand against abortion, so what makes you think that they care about hazing? It's a tough, and you know what? To your point, you're right. And that's sad. That's sad. Because I come to church, if I'm coming to church, I'm coming to church to hear the word of God. Word of God says I'm speaking life into you, into your life. We could talk about every little thing about arguments at work, blessings that come, how to, habits to have a healthier lifestyle. But our young people, we say, we're not going to talk about fraternity hazing. We're not going to talk about college. We're not going to talk about abortion. That's not our focus right now on top of this subject, but it's important to talk about. Young people deserve a chance to go to college, to get an education, to come out on the other side safe. That's been my focus ever since I decided to rebrand and put my energy into this. That is the key. We're doing a lot of things. I'm doing a lot of things, but we're doing a lot of things in the background to see that we get this really the focal point, that we get this addressed, that we make sure that our young people get the questions that they need. Parents, especially if you're watching this, I want to make sure that you have full comfort in knowing that your kid who's going to college can go into that marching band and not worry about, because of what section that they are on, that they could be somewhat, experience a process that encourages them to either hit other people or them have any kind of violence against them. That's the issue. Marching bands, dance teams. I talked to a young man actually a couple weeks ago. Him and I are real cool at this point, but he told me about his experience at Howard University and how the churches on that campus supported their own process of hazing. You don't know how strange that is? Would you support that? Would you support a institution that, under the guise of the shadows of this historic and prestigious school for Black young youth? I can't speak on the white side only because I can tell you I'm not familiar. I went to a PWI after I went to the HBCU that I went to. And even, again, I'm not saying that PWIs don't have their own experiences with hazing, because they do. But I got to also help our people too and address this situation, because what disturbed me is that he told me that, yes, the chapel on campus allegedly supported hazing, that they facilitated in that process, whatever the positions of those youth that are in that church. But the honor societies as well. Honor society is a place where, look, you smart, you're intelligent, you're a part of that honor society because of your GPA and what value you bring amongst other leaders and smart, intelligent young people. But not only is that a part of the factor to be a part of that honor society, but we want to see your blood too. We want to see you go through something that's going to break you down in such a way that you could be close to death. That's a problem. What are we doing? How are we resolving for those young people that deserve justice? How are we showing up for young people that were just like you and me? Young, full of life, full of promise, had aspirations and dreams just like you did. They wanted to go and be doctors, lawyers. Some of them wanted to be, a pilot. Some of them wanted to have more out of life. Some of them wanted to get married, have kids of their own. Some of the things that we all think about having as we get older. 19, 20, 21, 17, 26. These are some of the ages of those whose life stopped. Does that not seem concerning to you? Do you go about living your day as like, well, you know what? Every day somebody dies. It is what it is. And you may be feeling convicted that that's how you feel. But there's a parent out there that wants to make sure that their kid gets to come home come spring break, that gets to come home come summer break, that gets to come home during winter break. Do you follow me? Do you really hear me? Those parents deserve to make sure that their kids, that they're spending all that money. And think about the young people whose parents don't even have a money to scratch to take care of tuition, who got to fight day in and day out to put money on the table, put food on the table for their kid, work their asses off for 18 years or 17 years in order to provide a better life for their only child. And that only child says, Mom, Dad, I want to go to this college because it has such a prestigious honor. Everybody go there. And because they go there, I got to make sure that I get the best experience possible, because everybody who's important in life do you hear me, goes to that school. And then they get on campus. And when they get on campus, check this out. They see a world that's vastly different than anything they've experienced. You probably already know what I'm talking about. You've gone to college before, right? For those that have been to college. If you haven't, let's listen on a little bit. You leave a world that's provided for you, right? If you have it like that. If you don't, obviously you probably work in a student job or something like that. You get all the time in the world to make your friends and high school memories and all that stuff. And the day comes where you're packed up in this U-Haul or a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and you got all your bags, all your stuff that you've basically take with you, your new fridge, your new devices that you're going to be using on campus, your new gear, your new clothes, everything that's going to make you while you're on campus, right? You're leaving the world of you were in your mom's or parents' house, and now you're going to be on your own. You go to campus, you go for the admissions process. If you've been to an HBCU like I have, then you're going through a full registration process. It's going to take upwards of 2 to 3 days, right? Some of you remember. But that process means, okay, 2 to 3 days, you're going to get through getting all your books, make sure you got your classes. And then something interesting happens. You start to see organizations, maybe the bands, come out and preview what they do and how the students who are fully aware of that culture on that college campus part like the Red Sea to open up to the full view of who they are. Your first thought is, I got to be that. Your first thought is, I want to experience what that is, if that's what you want, right? Everybody's going to think that way. But for those that do, that's essentially how it works. You see them then after you've got all your stuff in your dorm room. Now you're coming to classes, you go into orientation, go to the parties. You see all the, ooh, the Q's having a party with the cabaret, it's the pretty party. It's the pretty nasty. We going down to the Civic. You follow me? So now you're seeing the continued events, the activities, the fun, the strolls, the hopping. And you're like, I got to choose which one. Because I want to be a part of something that brings me from where I was, right? Where I was a nobody. I'm a Q Ernest from they called him Square from Burning Sands in that movie, right? They build him from that, right? You start so small and you say, I gotta be that. Because that's the hierarchy of what a college campus looks like for someone who's just starting out. Maybe they had a high in high school where they were the senior year, they were top of the class, they were king and queen, prom, king and queen, whatever. They start back low coming onto a college campus. So what becomes the objective? Not only, of course, to get the grades and whatever, maybe to get it for a guy, get the girls, for a lady, to be able to find her sisterhood, find that community, to find that acceptance. So where do you find it? Maybe start small. Maybe you go into an honor society process. Dance team, I don't know, chess team having a process. So you put yourself through a step in that process to get you. And that final climax is you seeing a probate. Not only want to be a part of that, you embody the admiration for that. Because when a probate happens, it's like you're a new person on a campus that didn't know you before, but what they're about to see is a whole new you in full view. So the dean's gonna tell you, look, man, you crossing, you're gonna have all these girls throwing themselves at you. Sorority, I don't know what the sorority dean says to the pledges. I don't. I'm curious in itself what they say to them as far as the promise. But on the guy's side, I can speak to the fraternity side. The dean is gonna always tell you it comes with perks. It comes with benefits. These benefits, by the way, may only go as far as the connections that you have, the circle that you're around, and your timeline even within going to college, because most people who graduate off and still a part of said organization and are financial come back to the alumni to get that same high. They come back to homecoming as alumni to get that same high. To not only, not always, again, this is not always. This is just in some cases, some chapters that do have some level of a process where that means hazing, they come back. They come back to put their hands on someone else's child, to relive the same experiences, to run after the same young girls who idolize the organization to a point that they're willing to put themselves and subject themselves to abuse to like no other. We have a problem. Our call to action and what we're asking for is full transparency, protection of our young people, especially when they don't feel like they have an outlet to talk to someone. I hope I'm making sense. I really, really do. I don't see how I can't, but you let me know. How can I best support this with you? How can I make it more black and white? You do have a voice. You sharing the videos that I've been posting. I'm posting free game. Yes, we've got a problem. We've got several instances of how hazing can work, how hazing does work, and how these cases, these very real stories of those not only have died, but have been injured for life, can no longer talk. I'm posting a video tonight about the case of Danny Santulli, whose story really deeply affected me, because in his situation, he drank alcohol to levels that were unseen at the University of Missouri. He was left behind on a couch. White student, by the way, in case you were wondering. University of Missouri. Go Mizzou. His story is tragic. Left behind 6 times the legal limit of alcohol consumption. 6 times, I'm gonna say it again, 6 times the legal limit of alcohol. They leave him on, he's get left, he falls off the couch. Later on, they drive him to the hospital, but it was too late. He died on the way. Goes to the hospital, dies. Well, I'm sorry, no, let me retract. He didn't die. He survived, but he was left for dead. That's what I meant. He was left for dead. He can no longer talk. He can no longer eat. He can no longer, well, he can eat, but he can't eat the normal way like you and I. He can't do anything for himself, is what I'm trying to tell you. His parents have to take care of him for life. God bless him, because to be a vegetative state and having to be cared for, to be from one person of yourself who is whole and to be fully functional. And then the next day you wake up and find yourself trapped in your own body. Tell me again how you would feel. Tell me how you would feel. Trapped in your own body. You love to go travel. You love to go have dinner with your friends. That's a problem. Someone asked, BBW Slayer 123 asked me, was your experience more physical or mental, emotional hazing? It was all three. It was all three. There was a severity level, and this is something I can bring up too. And again, shout out to and peace and love and light to Danny Santulli's family. They're going through, even to this day, they're constantly reminded because of what he went through that they have to continuously take care of him. Yeah, we got a problem. But the thing I was just trying to make a point of is that hazing is a timeline of events that starts at a slow point, which could mean exercises, verbal abuse, all the things you could think of when in terms of a process that gets harder and harder and harder. That's how it works. It's built on bringing you in, giving you the first taste of it, of what that abuse is going to look like, driving you to a situation where you feel isolated, so now your mental is all messed up. Psychologically, you can't seem to understand the difference between reality and fiction. This is the problem that we have in our community. Am I legally binded from speaking about my experience? Yes, I cannot talk about my per se experience, but I can speak up for those other experiences that hardly ever get talked about. I'm going to speak and be a champion for young people whose voices was silenced because they can no longer be alive. Those who are injured, the parents that suffer. I'm working on a new segment that's going to be starting in summertime. Pray that God, continues to make that happen. But we're going to be talking to parents. Parents are going to be the ones to share their story. You see what I'm saying? These people are killing people. Some of these organizations or chapters, I should say, marching bands, whatever, they're literally destroying lives. I talked about the Robert Champion story. Robert Champion's story is one of the stories that horrify me to this day, because it happened in 2011, just a couple years after my situation. And with his story, he was a bright young man with a lot of promise, a lot of talent, who idolized being a part of a marching band, to be focused on music, to lead in those marching bands. You know how the D9 marching bands are in college campuses everywhere. Well, not to say D9, right? But some of the members are D9, right? But you know about the Black experience of being in a marching band, what it means to see a marching band, us showing up in suits and colors and different uniforms and playing all types of music that we grew up on. Playing the tunes from artists like Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, Frankie Mason Beverly, rest in peace. And we show up to those games to hear that sound. But Robert Champion's sound was silenced. His sound can never be played by him alive on this earth again. His mother got the phone call that would essentially change her trajectory of how she takes care of herself. Because no longer on Saturday nights, she doesn't do her hair anymore. She does not do her hair anymore on a Saturday night because that's when she got the phone call that her baby was dead. That shakes me to my core. I saw that in the documentary that Byron Hurt put out regarding hazing. If you haven't seen the documentary, I'm going to tell you, go see it. It's on, I think you can rent it on Amazon Prime. Or I think it's on actually PBS. See it on PBS. Yeah, it's a problem. So I got to get, as many of our faith leaders to be a part of the conversation. I've got to get our young people a part of the conversation. I got to get our D9 members. If you're a D9 member, I'm not your foe, I'm your ally. You especially should be on target with me, hand in hand, to seek that we address the elephant in the room. I have all respect for D9 members, fraternity members, sorority. This isn't an anti-y'all, but we have a chapter problem. We have a personal problem, a systemic problem. It's not a black or white issue, but white sororities, white fraternities, 85%, they make the higher number of hazing. Just saying, just so that y'all don't come at me like, oh, y'all, you only focus on black. No, I don't. I focus on wherever hazing exists. I focus on making sure our babies universally can come home and graduate. We've got to do something. This just does not end at Caleb Wilson. This doesn't end at Robert Champion or Danny Santulli or Bradley Doyley or Victoria Carter and Brianna Gather, if I didn't know these names, if I didn't care, you think I would know these names and be up on this live wasting my time? This is time worth it. This is something, I'm tired. I'm speaking from my heart. My heart sometimes is probably too big for myself. But if that's the case, if that's what's going to have to be to make sure that we have greater protocols to protect our young people for the future, then I can do this every day if I have to. I can do this every week. Some people came to my comments or came up into my DM and said, "You not tired?" Negative, never tired. That's what they always tell me in fraternities. When I was doing my process, negative, never tired. We never tired. Piss poor practice promotes piss poor performance. Piss poor performance promotes pain. That's the shit they used to say. I'm putting it out there. It's a reinforcement tool. Serenity prayer. Some of you don't even know what that is. I don't remember. Many nights I had to recite that. I've forgotten it, and I am a faith believer and God believer, but serenity prayer. You understand what I'm saying to you? Let me see here. We got someone that's wanting to join. I want to go see what they have to say. Hang on.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right, brother. And let me first say what you're doing is very, very, extremely important. Being a D9 member from the 90s, first off, to call somebody's parent, and say that's when we placed people, it was like, and even though I would say we probably didn't do the best, but we walked that, we didn't even walk the line, but we made sure to not walk that line to get that close. But now, with society and with the internet, with the kids, and I want them to keep speaking on it for sure. That causes change. But let me give you a story, Chris. And like I've watched your videos, man, so I know where you're coming from. But let me give you a story of joining, and then, hey, in college I was a party man. Okay, let's, for all of those reasons you said, but other reasons, that's why I joined. Now, dig. I didn't participate in hitting no one or nothing like that. That wasn't my thing. I'm from the West Side of Chicago. So the stuff I grew up seeing, you feel me? And I'm gonna connect that in just a moment. So I'm going to school in Mississippi, where the HBCUs down there. Love it still. It's gonna always be my home as far as education, collegiate education for that matter. So anyway, I go home. I'm partying, doing my thing. We at this basically a regional, so to speak, for my fraternity, and it was honestly about 80 of us, and it was two queues. And you know how these things break down. I love everybody hopping at a party. When I ran a party, that was my thing. Y'all hop because we're gonna get some money from this. I was just, I was that way. Everybody can hop. Do your thing. This one, with this regional, we so outnumbered these guys. But let's just be real. Sometimes queues are gonna queue. I always say when Atomic Dog comes on, watch your roof because they're gonna fall through and start hopping. That's a fun thing. I love that in our black expression. So these two cats, they started hopping, right? And this one dude of my fraternity, he just jumped in the middle like, this ain't happening here. I'm from Chicago. I see where this could possibly go. So me and my buddy, we kind of just stepped back a minute. You know, it kept going. Let's just say things went up. Okay, things went up, and it went crazy, right? To where I'm looking out for my buddy like he was my friend before we joined. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. Where my guy at? I can't leave him. Anyway, make a long story short, I see a golf club. Okay, I grabbed a golf club. And this dude who was a non D9 member, just a civilian, right? In Chicago. He comes up on me and he's got this thing with him. You feel me? Pew pew action. And he points it at me. Now I stood there, just in shock, but I just stood there, right? Like I said, I grew up on the West Side. But this cat said something that just changed me. He said, man, I'm out here in the streets doing da 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 da, and I look at y'all the same as what I'm doing. Gangbanging. I had heard that. I had heard that before on the college campus. But coming from that guy who I can, like I said, I'm from Chicago, so I see this guy gets down, and he could have literally done whatever he wanted to me. So now that you hear those, and there's Chris, I swear, and that's why I like what you're doing because you're going back. I went over in '92. Chris, there was a lot of those cases before '92. There's been a lot of those cases after. I've since moved for years. I'm out on the West Coast now. And I heard about a situation. I think you probably even mentioned her name, but I heard about a situation with a sorority pledging this girl at the ocean. And the girl drowned.
Yep.
How, yeah. And to me, how stupid can you be? It's an ocean. When that current comes in, it can pull you out. That's just dumb. And it's not going to look, man, all the hazing didn't make the bond strong with me because I gravitated to who I gravitated to. Chris, if you was cool, I'm going to gravitate to you. If you're not, I'm not. I don't care how much hazing you've been through. But it's so important that us D9 people, especially us older cats, hey, man, it comes a time to let stuff go. Okay? It might not have been the right thing to do then, and we just didn't know better, which is, and I know young kids are going to say, yeah, you should have known. I got you. But at the time, it's a different thing. But if we don't start speaking up and saying this wrong, Chris, if somebody called me about my child, and if it's my fraternity, I'm not talking to nobody. In that moment, that's what I'm thinking. You feel me? So you are keep doing what you're doing, man, no matter who disagrees or whatever, but keep doing what you're doing because when I read the Caleb stuff, and like you said, the Robert Champion stuff at FAM, I know people in the band. Look, I went to Jackson. All right, I love Jackson State. Love the swag. Me, I can go do whatever, but they're just a rivalry. But to hear about that from exactly what you said, I used to go to Southern and Grambling just so we can band go crazy. You know what I mean? But when it involves they're never coming back, people don't understand in college because we're insulated how serious that is. Again, I'm from Chicago. Y'all read about Chicago all day. You know what I mean? And how stupid that is. But we're basically mimicking that. And those kids out in the street who are not even a part of these organizations, in college organizations, they see us doing the same stuff. So what do you think they're going to think? So us older cats, I'm 53, man. But us older cats got to start, hey, no, slow down. This ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not going to make you more of a brother to me. It ain't going to make you more of nobody to me because you're doing it because you know that cat can't hit you back. And I've seen some pledgees go, I'm not going to take this. You know what I'm saying? And throw hands. All right? This is important. Main thing, like you said in the movie Bernie Sanders, I just saw that too, and it's a great movie. You do not want to call that parent and say they lost their child. Because to be honest with you, if it continues to happen, there's going to be two stories. Because the parent's going to snap. You lost your child, man. The same way that parent feels on the south side and on the west side of Chicago when the police come to their door or they, whatever, and they lost their child to some senseless street violence. Well, what we're doing is the same. It's senseless, man. It's senseless. We can come up with another process that could be, vigorous or whatever, but not too vigorous. We can come up with another process because I want to trip out with you when you cross, and network with you.
Your voice is 100% important to be here. And I think that there should be some level of a process, but nothing compared to your life being love or your emotional state being, state or mental health is diminished. None of that should be a part of the equation.
It shouldn't be at all. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna be truthful, Chris, especially with the talk of mental health within the past 10, 15 years. Okay, let me start looking at that. Because my thing was always, and probably wasn't the best thing to do, but I say this, I would try to humiliate you, make everybody laugh. But then I started thinking about that, it's still hurting this kid regardless. And I started thinking about that later on of how those effects build up. I'm still going to try to make you laugh, but not just to be, cooler with it or put my arm around him or something. It's man, and it comes from it's a history of hazing in the D9. From what I know, and you can probably go back even further, but from what I know in the D9, and yes, it happens with white fraternities and sororities. I just don't know them. I haven't been around them, but it definitely happens. I see those stories. But in the D9, from what I heard, and I've heard this from several older members than myself, that it comes from the whole World War II discipline. That a lot of cats came back and they saw how it made them fight, so then they basically extended that to the college campuses and the chapter organizations and everything. And okay, doesn't make it right, but we can also stop it too. And it's just now I look at, and it was a long time really after that incident at the Park West I had, that made me look at it different. That made me go, is it really worth it? And I'm paying my money, and it's like, but us older cats, if any older cats on this live, male or female, black, trust me, man, we all know it ain't worth it, and we just have to keep saying that. And with these, with the information that we have now, the way we're distributing it on social media, especially these young kids, I'm watching their videos like, man, you know how it is for us older cats when young kids tell us the truth, and they're saying like, for this, nah, I ain't even interested. So yeah, us older cats, man, we got to come off that mentality. It doesn't make us stronger as men. It doesn't make you stronger as women. It doesn't make your bond stronger because guess what? I'm blue and white, but one of my best friends is black and gold. Another best friend is a Q. I mean, we go at it all the time, but that's my guy. You feel me? So, and I know a Capo. I'm cool with. I was just cool with everybody. Is it really worth it? It's
It's
not.
a home. It's a family. We know how we are as black people. We love family.
Mm-hmm.
Love the experience to go to HBCU, our alma mater, and go to homecoming and be a part of that
Mm-hmm.
means something. So I understand it, but it should never come at the cost of someone's really ability to live properly or live
To just live, to just live,
or live
to just live, to just live, you know, and that the whites do not heard his story. I thought he had passed, but to even live in a vegetative state, do you know as a parent if they done that to my kid again? I'm not even Mr. Go throw hands. I'm not that at all. But that's the scariest person to deal with because you really done something to make that person feel that way. And as a parent, look, my kid always tell him, man, you're going to go out there and do some stuff and you're going to fall down. I want you to. That's only how you're going to learn. But if something like that happened and you need some backup and you can't do it, just call dad. I got you. You feel me? And I don't think us older cats, at least from the conversations I've had after this Caleb Williams thing, I don't think we still get it that not only that it's not cool, but the end, this cat is gone. I saw his funeral, Chris, man. I said, this dude is in a casket. And I'm just gonna be super real like that. He's in a casket.
not in school, not
He's in a casket.
not in school, not on campus, not in the marching band, doing what he loved as a trumpet player.
In a casket at 20. Because of us supposedly smart people. He wasn't killed on the streets of Chicago, on the streets of Louisiana. And yet we think this is okay. Nah, bro, we got to come to a point. And I'll be the first person to say it. Rather, I was stupid too. I didn't put my hands on people, but like I said, the mental stuff that was my thing. But I was stupid, and that's another thing. Us older people in the D9s have to do is say you were wrong. It's okay to say you're wrong, you know, but we don't want to do that like we holding up something, man. But I'm gonna let you go ahead, and I hope more people join. That's what I'm throwing. Please like this stuff, man, people, because this needs to be out. And I hope there's a white person like you talking about their fraternity and sorority activities that way.
I will tell you right now, stick around because
Okay,
summertime, we've got parents that are ready to come out, and
man.
they're not black parents.
Yeah, Chris, put them on because I just lost my mother a couple of weeks ago.
I'm sorry, by the way. I'm sorry
But
about
no,
that.
you fine, man. Thank you. But that's my mom. So if that was a child, come on, man. We're not even letting these kids get to 30 doing it. Come on. It ain't worth it. And the bad stuff I never understood, although I give a shout out to KK side, Top 86. I didn't know them until I got to school. But again, on different campuses, that goes on, and you know, on those. I didn't see it at Jackson State. I'm gonna be honest with you, but when I heard about the FAMU, I said, "Oh, wow, dude, wow!" Just and I remember that happening live, and it's we got to stop it, bro. No fraternity or sorority should be unaliving kids just to join. That's dumb. All right. Good stuff, Chris. I'm gonna drop on down, man. But keep it up, brother. Definitely keep it up, and I'm gonna watch your stuff, man.
Man.
No problem, brother.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Fab, definitely 100% nail it out the park. And to be honest with you, we've got to come to a few concerns. We've got to hit a wall that is reflecting back on us on what are we going to do for our future. He mentioned something that was even interesting. He talked about the historical past to which how all this started to really become explosive on college campuses. He talked about how at World War II, or, you know, after that, somewhere around that time, or Vietnam, around that time, young people were coming back to basically exercise the military training that they had to fight combat, to fight in combat, and be able to then exercise that on college campuses of higher learning through these organizations. When these organizations were founded, by the way, if you didn't know, the Jewels is what they call them. They founded them out of a place for us because white organizations weren't letting us in. You understand that? You understand that? So it started off with empowerment right after the Reconstruction era, and the government said, hey, we're going to have these black schools, black institutions of higher learning that are now going to be available for black people. I'm talking about a little bit of history, right? It was started as a noble cause to have a certain dignified experience for young, black, educated people to be a part of because they weren't getting into those white organizations. The first organization that started, Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, started on the campus of Cornell. That followed into Howard University with Omega Psi Phi. And of course, the sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. And it became a whole system built on the truths and promises that they were looking to give access to the community. Were doing phenomenal things. And they're still doing phenomenal things. Let me just say that. Still, the organization still seeks to do the same founding morals, founding principles to which it was founded, the same values and characteristics to do good in the community, to do community service, to help someone who's homeless or suffered domestic violence. I know Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated has done that completely. Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated has done that as well. Phenomenal things. But yet these are the cases of hazing that comes up that puts a shadow, and they know it. They have large conventions every year, and you don't think they talk about it? They talk about it openly at that convention. Haven't really heard someone from, each group just saying, hey, look, we want to talk to the public. We want to talk to openly to HBCUs about where do we go from here. I'm curious to know if you feel like they owe us that, if they owe education institutions that, if they owe students who are going to these colleges or looking to join a HBCU and get that same experience. Some of them, you got to think about it, this dynamic. The student that is of mixed race, who's just looking for a place to belong, never been around other people that look like her or people of color, right? And decides they want to sign up to go to that school that they've always looked at, College Hill, from their parents, right? Different things that they've seen. Parents don't have any idea what that's all about because they went to, prestigious or Yale, whatever it is, but their kid, they want to go to HBCU. I'm saying that it can't happen at a PWI, but for whatever school that they choose, they decide to get influenced to join the organization because they see something that they feel mirrors who they are inside. Finer womanhood, greater brotherhood. We've got to act. We've got to set the standard. And again, to Kefab, his point of the older people, the older members need to take part in being able to tell the story and help protect these young people. These older alumni, I will tell you through even my experience in my pledging process, I had to pick up the phone and call alumni brothers that were in Fortune 500 companies. You seen that part or that scene in Burning Sands where you saw some of the pledges had to call the alumni and it's like, yo, yeah, big brother, whatever. I just wanted to just connect with you. And big brother on this other side is like, man, just keep staying strong. Make sure you know your information. Big brother on the other side has 2 kids, married, working at a big company, corporate company, ran by a white man, making way more than him. And he's advocating for this young man who's on the other end of that call to go through something that could be fatal. Click. That's a problem. I'm just being honest. I'm being blunt. I talked about a video as well, which concerns me. Hazing tour. Young people who are joining in these organizations or are part of the pledging process. They're going to other schools to meet other pledges on that campus in their similar organization, just a different chapter, miles away to go through the experience. Basically hazing, trafficking, to be blunt. Hazing to go. I'm not being funny. I'm just being real. This is the stuff that you don't see. These are the stories that you don't hear about. Cases like Bradley Doyley's, Danny Santulli, both sides of the aisle, black, white, Hispanic, doesn't matter, Sam Martinez. We speak up for those victims. We speak out for the lives lost. We ask Heavenly Father to guide us through the light so that we may expose a problem that is cutting off lives. This is why I speak out. This is what keeps me up at night. I don't think I've gotten really good sleep since Caleb Wilson. And even before then, as I went through my process and 15 years later, I'm still reminded by my own choice to try to join an organization because I still have a scar that's never going to go away. And every time I take a shower, I look back and it's always going to be there, always reminding me. So I use that scar not as a tool to ignore it, but to use it as a way to, as a form of a weapon to go against the act that caused it. So I pray humbly, 100% for your safety, for your clarity. I want you to join in on the live tomorrow, which is going to be on YouTube at Cultured Unplugged. We're going to be hosting a parent who lost her daughter to suicide because of hazing. And we're going to be having a tough conversation regarding not only the act of hazing, but suicide. And how this parent who was pretty much left behind and no one wants to hear from her. No one's been able to give her a chance to talk and speak on her experience. But she's going to do that with me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you to be there. I want you to listen to it. Parents, especially you need to be on that call. This is serious. This is God called. We've got to do better. So I'm hoping I get to see you there. If you haven't already, go to my YouTube channel at Cultured Unplugged, subscribe, because I am giving out as many more opportunities and stories that we really need to hear. We have other collaborations that we're going to be working with in the coming weeks that I really feel is going to be of value to you. As a parent, as a student, as an educator, as an alumni member of an organization, as anyone who has any interest of being a part of a college campus. This story, this fight, you need to be a part of it. If you are someone who has experienced hazing, of any kind, if you have had an experience, if you're going through something now, this is a safe space to speak your truth. You can jump into my DM. You can go to my email at coveredandcultured@gmail.com. If you don't want to be known, you want to be anonymous, that's okay too. But your word, what you have to say is important, and it matters to protect other young people who desire to go through an organization or desires to go through a marching band, whatever, wherever, whatever. They need to know. And we need full transparency, and we need safety protocols. But it starts with awareness. It starts with you asking the right questions. Not just the book cost, not just what time the class gonna start, not just hanging out the calf. I know this stuff. I've been there. And I want to see hazing end. So I've spoken to you a lot more than I thought I would, but that's because for good reason. We are in a place that we've got to draw a parallel, and we've got to draw a line in the sand that enough is enough. So I pray for love and light for you and your family. I pray for safety. I pray for strength. We still got to wake up tomorrow, another day, on a Thursday. Go to work, live our lives, go to class, go to campus, go to the bank. Let this, what I share with you tonight, our conversation that we had together, let that be a focus for you, that you may save someone else's life. Let what I share with you tonight be a space, a safe space where you can feel you can always come back to. Because this doesn't stop. My fight against hazing doesn't stop. My focus on dropping content that matter for people to know doesn't stop. The day maybe it stops is when I know for sure, hey, we've got something in place to really save young people. Maybe I'll go back to my regular life of videos where I'm just being me. But I can't just be me without also not telling the story, the real story here. I'm not a member of a D9 organization, by the way. Let me just say that. But I'm looking for allies. I'm looking for D9 allies. And if you want to be an ally, hit my DM. Let's have a conversation either on live. Let's have a conversation either live on TikTok or live on YouTube. I'm welcome to that. Let's talk about solutions. Not just the problem. Let's talk about the solution. In which how we're going to move forward to make sure that something changes, that we help protect young people. If you have that encouragement, if you're emboldened to do that, let me know. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'd love to be with you all night, but I got to go back to the fight. I got to go back to creating. I got to go back to the movement. This is something I do pretty much almost every night since I rebranded. So I'll go back to work on this. I'll create more content. I'll be able to raise those voices of those who can't raise their voice anymore and speak for the victims that are afraid to talk about their experience. And I hope that you'll stick with me through the process that we have to tell these stories and the duties that we have as human beings to treat and love one another. My grandmother used to say to me, every time I used to tell her, I love you, she used to say, and I double love you. So I'm going to tell you, I love you. And I know in my heart, I know in your heart, you love me back. You double love me back. So I love you. I pray for you. I pray for guidance. And I pray for your encouragement. Let's end hazing together. Let's get it unplugged. Good night.